NAB is a huge lender in the renewable space in Australia. What we did was to ring fence a pool of assets, renewable assets, predominantly wind farms, I think one solar facility here in Australia, working with the Climate Bonds Initiative to basically assess and validate that those projects were in fact green and were renewable, give us the tick, and then we went off and then actually raised money as a climate bond issued by NAB, with the proceeds of that bond effectively being ring fenced to fund those renewable projects. It's helped us get some base knowledge that ultimately will help us with our clients, both on the investor side and the borrower side. We did end up being able to reach out to a number of SRI funds and get them on the investor register, perhaps for the first time in some cases. One of the technique that we ended up using or creating, if you like, internally to ring fence these assets is definitely replicable across other assets. So that's the first thing. Second thing is there's a whole range now potentially of investors we're talking to that, you know, hopefully we can get that next step to take them, get them to fund at different parts of capital structure or fund renewable projects at different points, not necessarily in the way that they were taking pure NAB credit risk. Could we get investors to take the credit risk around some of these projects? In this first deal, NAB took that credit risk. So I think there's a few different paths we can take. As we just said, we've just done effectively the second green bond, this one from a client directly. So we think there's more opportunities there. We've opened up a new investor base, so what else can you sell to them? There's another potential, you know, we did not ring fence all the assets, our renewable assets, and we're always adding more to that. So there's potential for a follow-on deal, even in the same form that it's in now. To me, it was interesting. I thought that we would be able to get, you know, completely new names onto the balance sheet. But what we actually also found that was some of our traditional investors do manage socially responsible funds. They do have pockets of interest that historically here in Australia, they're actually finding it hard to get to work. Basically, the transaction we did was issued pretty well in line with where a non-green NAB bond would issue. There was cost of doing the transaction. So even if just to recoup them, you'd expect the price to be a little bit tighter. So we didn't see that. But I think that's just a point in time. I think always you do something the first time. It's the first deal you do is always the hardest. You're trying to break new grounds. But you hope over time that having something that is green, if people really do value that, that should be reflected in price. It's really interesting after we got the publicity around that first deal, the number of people that approached us, either approached me directly or approached other members of the team. So I don't think, it comes down to, do you believe in the underlying thesis around the green economy and around where the world's headed? Do you believe in sustainability? It comes down to some of that. I think what we're trying to show is you can effectively sort of bridge, the world as it is today and the world that hopefully it will be in the future. I think there'll be more banks will want to do this. I've found that it's very valuable having potentially different types of investors on the balance sheet, and I think it's a good thing to do. So give it a crack.